You've been walking every morning for years. Maybe you lace up your shoes before the sun rises. Maybe you go out after dinner. Maybe you walk the dog and tell yourself, "I'm doing my part. I'm taking care of my heart." And you believe it. You really do. And here's the thing. You're not wrong to believe it. Walking is good. Walking is real. Walking matters. But what if I told you that walking alone, no matter how consistent, no matter how dedicated, no matter how many steps your watch counts at the end of the day, is not enough to fully protect the heart that has been beating for you every single second of your life? What if the very habit you've been counting on most is only covering a fraction of what your heart actually needs after 50? This is not a video designed to make you feel like you've been doing it all wrong. This is a video designed to change the way you see your relationship with your own heart. Forever. Because by the time we reach the last point today, the one most people never think about, the one that might be the most powerful of all, your perspective will shift. And that shift could add years to your life. Real, vibrant, strong years. If you're here for the first time, this channel exists for one reason: to give your heart the attention it deserves, wrapped in science, wrapped in honesty, and wrapped in genuine care for the person watching. So before we dive in, hit subscribe. Turn on the bell. Because what we talk about here isn't filler content. It's the kind of information that changes how you live. Now, let's talk about your heart after 50, and let's talk about what it's been quietly asking for, that you may not have been giving it. Most people over 50 have been told some version of the same story. Move more, eat less, stress less, get some sleep. These are not bad pieces of advice, but they are incomplete. They are the surface of a much deeper biological truth. And when you're over 50, the surface is no longer enough. The decades that came before have left a fingerprint on your cardiovascular system, a kind of chemical signature built from stress, inflammation, hormonal shifts, and the gradual silent changes in how your blood vessels respond to pressure, to tension, to emotion. After 50, your heart isn't the same organ it was at 30, not because it's broken, not because it's failing, but because it has been working, without a single day off, for over 5 decades. And that kind of loyalty deserves more than a morning walk. The 4 things we're going to talk about today are not trends. They are not supplements or shortcuts. They are biological imperatives, actions that your cardiovascular system is designed to respond to, at a cellular level, in ways that walking simply cannot replicate. Each one targets a different dimension of your heart's health. Each one fills a gap that most people over 50 don't even know exists. Are you ready to truly understand your heart for the first time? Let's begin. Most people over 50 think of strength training as something for younger people, something for athletes, something for those who want bigger muscles or a better body at the beach. They see the weights at the gym and think, "That's not for me. My joints hurt. I could injure myself. I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder. I just want to be healthy." And so they walk. And they skip the weights entirely. Here is what they don't know. Here is what almost no one tells them. Strength training, lifting weights, doing resistance exercises, working with your own body weight, is one of the most powerful cardiovascular interventions available to a human being over the age of 50. Not because it makes your muscles bigger, but because of what it does to your heart, your blood vessels, and the invisible architecture of your entire circulatory system. When you lift something heavy, even just moderately heavy, your muscles demand an enormous surge of blood and oxygen in a very short period of time. Your heart has to respond instantly. It contracts with more force. Your blood pressure temporarily rises, and then, critically, drops below baseline in the recovery period. This cycle of demand and recovery is one of the most effective natural training stimuli your heart can receive. Scientists call this the post-exercise hypotensive effect. In plain language, after a strength session, your blood pressure can drop to levels lower than they were before you started. And this effect can last for hours. But there's something even more profound happening beneath the surface. After 50, you begin to lose muscle mass at a rate of 1 to 2% per year. This isn't just a cosmetic concern. Muscle is metabolically active tissue. It burns energy at rest. It manages glucose. It regulates inflammation. When you lose muscle, your body becomes less efficient at processing blood sugar, which means your pancreas works harder, which means your cardiovascular system operates under chronic low-grade metabolic stress. Even when you're sitting still, even when you think everything is fine. Strength training reverses this. Not completely, not instantly, but powerfully and measurably. Studies have shown that just 2 sessions of resistance training per week can significantly reduce the risk of cardiovascular mortality in older adults, independent of aerobic exercise. Independent, meaning even if you do nothing else, just adding those 2 sessions changes your risk profile in a way that walking cannot replicate. And here is the emotional truth hidden inside this science. Every time you pick up a weight, every time you do a squat, every time you push against resistance, when you are making a deposit in the most important account you have. You are sending a signal to a heart that has never stopped working for you, that says, I see you. I know what you need. And I'm willing to do the hard thing to give it to you. Strength is not vanity. After 50, strength is love. It is the most direct biological expression of care you can offer to a heart that chose to spend its entire life with you. Start with 2 days a week. Body weight squats, resistance bands, light dumbbells, whatever your joints can handle comfortably. Work with a professional if you need to. But start. Because your heart is not waiting for you to feel ready. It is waiting for you to show up. Now, before you say it, yes. This section is about cardio. And yes, you were already walking. And yes, walking counts. But here is where we need to have an honest conversation about what the word enough actually means. Walking at a comfortable pace, the kind where you can hold a full conversation without any effort, the kind where your breathing barely changes, is what exercise scientists call low-intensity steady-state activity. It is beneficial. It increases your daily step count. It keeps your joints moving. It supports your mood. But it does not meaningfully challenge your heart's aerobic capacity. It does not push your cardiovascular system to adapt. And adaptation, the heart's ability to become stronger and more efficient in response to demand, is the entire biological mechanism behind cardiovascular health improvement. Think of it this way. If you carry the same 5-pound bag to work every single day for 10 years, your muscles will not grow stronger. They will simply become efficient at carrying 5 pounds. The stimulus is no longer a challenge, and without challenge, there is no growth. Your heart operates by the same principle. After years of comfortable walking, your heart knows exactly how to handle that level of demand. It is no longer being asked to adapt. It is simply maintaining. And after 50, maintenance is not enough. After 50, you need your heart to be building new capacity, not just preserving existing capacity. Moderate to intense aerobic exercise means reaching a level of exertion where breathing becomes noticeable, where you could speak a sentence but not comfortably carry a long conversation, where you feel your heart working with a kind of focused urgency. Brisk walking, not strolling, but genuinely fast-paced walking, can qualify. So can cycling, swimming, dancing, hiking on uneven terrain, rowing, or any activity that elevates your heart rate into what scientists call the moderate to vigorous zone, typically between 50 and 85% of your maximum heart rate. Inside this zone, extraordinary things begin to happen. Your heart starts to pump a higher volume of blood with each beat. Over time, this increases what's known as stroke volume, the amount of blood your heart moves per contraction. A heart with higher stroke volume is a more efficient heart. It does more work with less effort. It operates with a kind of biological ease that translates directly into lower resting heart rate, lower blood pressure, and reduced risk of cardiac events. But the research goes deeper than efficiency. Moderate to intense aerobic exercise stimulates the production of nitric oxide in the walls of your blood vessels. Nitric oxide is one of the most important molecules in cardiovascular biology. It relaxes blood vessels. It prevents the hardening and stiffening that silently accumulates over decades. It reduces the kind of low-level arterial inflammation that is one of the primary hidden drivers of heart disease in people over 50, the kind that shows no symptoms until it does. One of the most powerful interventions studied in recent years is something called high-intensity interval training, or HIIT. Before that phrase triggers any anxiety, HIIT does not have to mean jumping and sprinting. For someone over 50, HIIT can be as simple as walking briskly for 30 seconds, then slowing to a normal pace for 90 seconds, and repeating this cycle for 20 minutes. That alternation, the push and the recovery, creates a cardiovascular training effect far greater than the same 20 minutes spent at a single, comfortable pace. And this brings us to the emotional dimension. Because this point is not just about biology, it is about the relationship you have with discomfort. After 50, many people have developed a quiet, unconscious fear of pushing their body. They've felt their joints ache. They've woken up sore after doing too much. They've been told in subtle and not so subtle ways to slow down, to be careful, to protect themselves from exertion. And so they have. They have chosen comfort. They have chosen the pace that doesn't challenge them. But here is what the science says with unmistakable clarity. The heart does not strengthen through comfort. The heart strengthens through respectful, appropriate, gradual challenge. Every time you push a little harder than yesterday, every time you breathe a little faster, every time you let your heart rate climb into that zone where you feel it working, you are not hurting yourself. You are having a conversation with your cardiovascular system. You are saying, I trust you. I believe in your capacity to grow. I am willing to ask more of you because I know you can give more. Your heart is not fragile. It is extraordinary. It has been proving that to you every single day for 5 decades. Give it the chance to prove it in a new way. Let's talk about something most people think they already understand: food. After 50, most people have a general sense of what they should be eating. More vegetables, less sugar, less processed food, less red meat. They've heard the advice. They've seen the headlines. Some of them have followed the advice faithfully for years. And yet, despite all that awareness, cardiovascular disease remains the leading cause of death globally. Something is not connecting. The knowledge is there, but the understanding of why it matters at a biological, almost intimate level is missing. Because here's what most people don't realize. Food is not just fuel. After 50, food is a form of chemical communication with your heart. Every meal sends a message. Every ingredient triggers a cascade of biological responses that either protect the lining of your blood vessels or slowly damage them. Every bite is a choice about the kind of environment your heart lives in. And your heart, like any living thing, is profoundly shaped by its environment. The specific foods that your cardiovascular system needs after 50 are not complicated, but the reasons they matter are more profound than most people realize. Fruits and vegetables are not just sources of vitamins. They are delivery systems for antioxidants, molecules that neutralize the free radicals that are constantly attacking the walls of your arteries. Inflammation of the arterial walls is not an abstract concept. It is a physical process of damage and repair that over years and decades leaves a residue, a thickening, a stiffening, a vulnerability. That is the biological foundation of most heart attacks and strokes. The antioxidants in a handful of berries, in a serving of leafy greens, in a piece of citrus fruit. These are molecules that physically enter your bloodstream and stand between your arterial walls and the forces trying to damage them. Fiber is perhaps the most underrated cardiovascular nutrient in existence. Soluble fiber, the kind found in oats, beans, lentils, apples, and flaxseed, binds to LDL cholesterol in your digestive tract and carries it out of your body before it can enter your bloodstream. This is not a metaphor. This is a literal physical removal of one of the primary contributors to arterial plaque. Every serving of fiber-rich food is a kind of internal housekeeping for your cardiovascular system. Healthy fats, the unsaturated fats found in olive oil, avocados, walnuts, sardines, salmon, do something even more remarkable. They actively improve the ratio of good to bad cholesterol in your blood. They reduce triglycerides. They decrease the chronic low-grade inflammation that is one of the most significant silent risk factors for heart disease in people over 50. The omega-3 fatty acids found in fatty fish have been shown in study after study to reduce the risk of sudden cardiac death, not by small margins, but significantly, measurably, powerfully. And then there is what you eat less of. Excess sodium raises blood pressure. not dramatically in one meal, but persistently over time, like a slow and steady pressure building on a pipe. Refined carbohydrates and added sugars spike insulin, drive inflammation, and create the metabolic conditions under which fatty plaques are most likely to develop. Ultra-processed foods, the ones with ingredient lists that read like chemistry textbooks, contain compounds that disrupt the gut microbiome, which in turn sends inflammatory signals directly to the cardiovascular system through biological pathways that researchers are only beginning to fully understand. But here is the deeper truth, the one that transforms nutrition from a discipline into a devotion. Every meal after 50 is a choice about what kind of home you want your heart to live in. Your heart has been faithful to you in environments of stress, in environments of grief, in environments of joy and fear and exhaustion. It has never once asked you to be perfect. It has simply asked you to keep showing up. And now that you understand what it needs, you have the extraordinary opportunity to give it a home that feels like care. A home that feels like you finally listened. A home built from color and fiber and healthy fat and the simple, radical act of choosing real food over convenient chemistry. That is not a diet. That is a love language. We have arrived at the final point, the one most people dismiss, the one that sounds softer than the others, less scientific, less serious. The one where people nod politely and then quietly decide it doesn't apply to them. This is a mistake. This is perhaps the most consequential mistake a person over 50 can make about their cardiovascular health. Let's begin with stress. Not the dramatic, obvious kind, but the quiet, chronic, everyday kind. The kind that lives in the background of modern life like a radio you've been listening to for so long, you've stopped noticing it's on. The deadlines, the financial pressures, the unresolved relationships, the news cycle, the weight of responsibilities that accumulate quietly over a lifetime. Your body is not designed to distinguish between a physical threat and a psychological one. When you perceive stress, even low-grade chronic background stress, your brain activates the same ancient alarm system that helped your ancestors survive predators. Your adrenal glands release cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate accelerates. Your blood vessels constrict. Your blood pressure rises. Your blood becomes more likely to clot. This response is brilliant when you need to run from danger. It is devastating when it never fully turns off. Chronic stress keeps your cardiovascular system in a state of persistent, low-level activation. Your blood vessels are slightly constricted for hours every day. Your blood pressure never fully returns to its resting baseline. The inflammation that your immune system produces in response to stress hormones slowly, steadily accumulates in the walls of your arteries. This is not a theory. This is observable biology. Studies have shown that people with high levels of chronic psychological stress have measurably higher rates of cardiovascular disease, even after controlling for diet, exercise, smoking, and every other traditional risk factor. Chronic stress is an independent cardiovascular risk factor. By itself. On its own. Regardless of everything else you do. And after 50, your resilience to stress is not what it was. The hormonal shifts of midlife, the decline of estrogen in women, the gradual reduction of testosterone in men, reduce the body's ability to regulate the stress response. The nervous system becomes less flexible, less able to shift quickly from activation to calm. The recovery time from a stressful event grows longer. The baseline level of cortisol for many people over 50 is chronically elevated in ways that were never true in their 20s or 30s. This means that stress management is not a luxury. It is not self-indulgence. It is a medical intervention of the highest order. What does stress management actually mean? It means creating daily practices that activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the part of your body's automatic control system that governs rest, repair, and recovery. It means breathing exercises where slow, deep diaphragmatic breathing has been shown in clinical studies to lower blood pressure, reduce heart rate, and measurably shift the balance of the autonomic nervous system toward calm. It means meditation, not because it is trendy, but because the research on its cardiovascular effects is now so substantial that it is no longer possible to dismiss. A consistent mindfulness practice has been shown to reduce blood pressure, lower cortisol levels, improve heart rate variability, and reduce markers of systemic inflammation. It means identifying the sources of chronic stress in your life and making real decisions about them, not suppressing them, not adapting to them, not deciding that because they've been there for years they are somehow normal. Your nervous system does not care how long you've been stressed. It only knows that the alarm has not stopped ringing, and it will keep sending the signal to your heart, to your blood vessels, to your immune system, until something changes. And then there is sleep. Perhaps the single most undervalued cardiovascular intervention available to any human being on the planet. Sleep is not a passive state. Sleep is when your cardiovascular system undergoes its most critical repair processes. During deep sleep, your blood pressure drops significantly. In healthy individuals, it falls by 10 to 20% below daytime levels. This period of nighttime blood pressure reduction is called nocturnal dipping. And scientists now understand that this dipping is not just a byproduct of sleep. It is an active biological process during which your heart and blood vessels recover from the demands of the day. The endothelial cells that line your blood vessels, the same cells that produce nitric oxide, the same cells that are damaged by inflammation and oxidative stress, undergo their primary regeneration during this window. When you don't sleep enough, and the research is consistent, less than 7 hours per night for most adults over 50, you shorten or eliminate this repair window. Your blood pressure stays elevated for more hours of the day. Your inflammatory markers rise. Your cortisol baseline increases. Your body produces fewer of the hormones that regulate glucose, appetite, and vascular tone. The long-term cardiovascular consequences of chronic sleep deprivation are so well documented that some researchers now classify insufficient sleep as a cardiovascular risk factor equivalent in magnitude to smoking. And there is a hidden dimension here that almost no one talks about. Sleep deprivation makes you more emotionally reactive. It reduces your ability to regulate stress. It makes the challenges of daily life feel larger, more threatening, more overwhelming, which means that poor sleep directly worsens your stress response, which further damages your cardiovascular system, which, here is the cruel irony, makes it harder to sleep. The nervous system that is chronically activated by stress does not easily shift into the parasympathetic calm required for deep, restorative sleep. This is not just a cycle, it is a spiral. And after 50, breaking that spiral is one of the most powerful things you can do for your heart. What does breaking it look like? It looks like protecting your sleep environment as seriously as you protect anything else of great value. A dark, cool room, a consistent schedule, screens off an hour before bed, a short breathing or relaxation practice as part of your wind-down routine. The decision, the deliberate, conscious adult decision, that sleep is not negotiable, that the thing your heart needs most from the hours between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. is your cooperation. And now, the emotional truth of this final point, the one that I want you to sit with after this video ends. Your heart is not just a pump. It is the organ most exquisitely sensitive to the quality of your inner life. It responds to your emotions in real time. It carries the chemical signature of your fear, your grief, your loneliness, your joy. It accelerates when you are threatened and softens when you feel safe. It is, in the most literal biological sense, a social organ, an organ designed to function best when you are connected, when you are calm, when you feel anchored, when you feel loved. After 50, the deepest gift you can give your heart is not just the right food or the right exercise. It is safety. It is the experience, and built through sleep and calm and the conscious reduction of chronic threat, of finally being allowed to rest, of finally knowing that the person it has been beating for all these years is going to take care of it, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, in all the ways that the science is only beginning to measure, but that your body has always known. Your heart chose to spend its life with you. Every beat it has given you was a gift, and this awareness, this willingness to change, this decision to show up more fully, is the gift you give back. Let's come back to the beginning. You've been walking every morning, and that walk, That faithful, consistent habit has been a real deposit in the account of your health. Don't stop. But today, you understand something you didn't understand when you started this video. You understand that your heart needs more. Not because you've been failing, but because it deserves more. Because it has earned more. Strength training. A signal to your cardiovascular system that you are investing in its capacity to grow. Moderate to intense aerobic exercise. A challenge that forces your heart to adapt, to build, to become more efficient in ways that comfort can never create. Balanced nutrition. A daily act of providing the chemical environment your arteries need to stay clear, flexible, and strong. And stress management with quality sleep. The deepest, most intimate act of cardiovascular care. The decision to give your heart the biological safety it has been silently asking for, perhaps for years. These 4 things are not tasks. They are not items on a checklist. They are deposits in the most important account you will ever have. The account of trust between you and the organ that has never once stopped believing in you. Think of your heart not as a machine that processes blood, but as a companion that has been on every journey you've ever taken. Every loss, every victory, every ordinary Tuesday. It has been there for all of it, beating its quiet, faithful rhythm, carrying you forward even when you didn't know where you were going. After 50, you have something you didn't have at 30. You have wisdom. You have the perspective that comes from having lived long enough to understand what truly matters. Use that wisdom here. Give it to the organ that has given everything to you. Your health is not behind you. It is ahead of you, waiting to be built. One honest, informed, loving choice at a time. If this video helped you see your heart in a new way, subscribe right now. Share it with someone over 50 who deserves to hear this. Leave a comment below telling us which of these 4 things you're going to start focusing on first. We read every single one. Because here, your heart is not just a topic. It is the reason we show up every day. And so are you.